Welcome to the Collective Genius Podcast, the show for real estate investors who are looking to scale.
Welcome back into the live Collective Genius Podcast. I'm your host, Leon Barnes. We are here in Sarasota, Florida. It's a little frigid here, but that's okay. It's warming up. I've got Eric Brewer in the house, so it's definitely warming up right now. He just came off the main stage here at our Select event. The theme of today is Gold Standard, and he just presented on lead management Gold Standard, and when it comes to doing deals and always reiterating and trying to be the best. There's not many that I can have in this chair today that are better than this guy I've got next to me. Needs no introduction because he's been on the pod before, but we're going to give him a proper one. Please welcome in Mr. Eric Brewer. Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. I mentioned in our promotion of this pod, I mentioned the standard of gold, and I was like, there used to be a time where platinum was what you wanted to be, but today's gold prices, man, it's I'm gonna go back to gold standard. We asked you to present on lead management today, and your gold standards. You just came off the stage. How are you feeling about that presentation? How it landed?
Good. Got good participation from the crowd. You can always tell. You said whether their phones are up, they're taking pictures of slides.
That's right.
And I just always look for eye contact, and it seemed for 30 minutes that I was able to keep people engaged and give them some value. So
I made the joke that on the way down here that it was like he was Shohei Ohtani and he had the Japanese media when I first walked in because we were shooting a pod earlier, and so I was a little late to his presentation. I walked in and everyone's camera is on his slide. You can usually tell how good the information is on the slide and how good the presenter is in the presentation as a whole by how many people are taking pictures of it. What do you think that landed to a point where people were taking that many pictures?
So I tried to focus on like three fundamental, I think, areas of focus for lead management. The first one before I got started was literally, I'm a big person that obsesses over language. I think the way we talk about things, the way we describe things, the way we think about them actually makes a big difference in the way those things behave or perform. And in our industry, for whatever reason, we've decided to call this position lead management. So I just did a quick exercise and I pulled up ChatGPT and asked it, what is lead management? It says the person that organizes and captures data, right? It's like, okay, now you think about inside of your sales process, if you pay, in some cases, hundreds of dollars for a lead, do you want someone that looks to capture and organize that person's information? I would say no, that's not the highest and best use of that position. Inside of Keller Williams, their ecosystem, they call that position the Director of First Impressions. Mm-hmm. So then I Googled, what is the role of a Director of First Impressions? And it says to ensure that everyone that contacts the market center has an exceptional, professional experience. And I said, which one of those two do you want?
That's it.
So
yeah,
we talked about that. Then we talked about speed to lead, the importance of everything from answering the phone live. Seems simple, but it's simple not to do it. It makes a big negative impact if you're not answering the phone. How quick we respond. Most people fill out leads today. They're not calling, they're filling out a web form. We found that when you answer the phone live or you call back a web form within 90 seconds, your conversions down the funnel are 2 and 3x times greater. Everything from appointment attended, appointment fallout rate to contract rate is impacted by how quick we call someone. We talked a little bit about that. And then we talked about the gold mine of follow-up, how to get good at follow-up. Went through some data there to literally show, the one metric I point out is the top operators in our industry convert 10% lead to contract. All right. So if you believe that, that means the best of the best, 90% of the leads that they pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for go unconverted. So if we don't have a process and follow-up to be able to convert those 3, 4, 5, 18 months down the road, we're literally just giving money away.
The other one that I noticed as I walked in there, it was trust, credit, and credibility. I noticed that you had your acquisitions that they were sending through the lead management process. Once this appointment was set, they were sending videos to the homeowner so the homeowner knew exactly who was coming through the doors.
Yeah. So we track, a big statistic is appointment attended versus appointment scheduled. We always want that to be north of about 85%. And so we're always testing things to get the commitment level and that conversion up. And one of the things that's really worked that we saw helps is after we schedule the appointment, prior to the appointment, we do an email. We got like a baseball card kind of version of the acquisitions agent. Once they've been assigned, it's got where they're from, their favorite hobby, how many kids they have, their age, all that good stuff. And then the day of the appointment and the day prior, the acquisitions agent actually records about a 15-second video. Hey, my name's Eric. I'm going to be coming out tomorrow. I look forward to meeting you. And if anything pops up, give me a call. And we found that drastically improves the appointment attended rate.
What I loved about this is if you're listening to this and you're a real estate investor, but you also own a title company and you also own an insurance agency and maybe some other things underneath your umbrella, you talked about how this is transferable. On the way back from basketball this morning, I told you recently about my car buying experience and how I've continued to adjust it myself as a buyer because I feel like that's an industry that's ripe for disruption. And you mentioned how this is transferable. I really wish that car dealerships would adhere to this.
Yeah.
Let me just give you a quick rundown of that entire process in a short version of it. I reached out to the vehicle that I wanted, to the internet department, and I got, on a weekend, I got somebody that was probably a VA, maybe even, AI, right? That reached out to me, set an appointment for the next day for the salesperson to follow up with me. Perfect. Mm-hmm. We're off to a good start, right? I didn't expect a live call on the weekend. Well, come up on Monday, I had 3 different salespeople reach out to me. It was all either a round robin or now again, I'm a buyer. And this is my first introduction, my first impression of this dealership is they don't have their stuff together. Because I got 3 different people reaching out to me. One's calling me, one's emailing me, and one's texting me. 3 totally different people. This gold standard that you said, would this work in car dealerships? Would this work in title agencies?
So here's the problem with a lot of sales. Like, yeah, it probably would work, but it's not a gold standard, right? So like, work has levels, right? Work, there's some organizations that do what we do that, gross $1 million a year. There's others that gross $20 million a year. There's some organizations that their processes net them $300,000. There's other organizations that net $3 million. So I think the tricky thing a lot of times with a gold standard is that silver, copper, brass still technically work. Just a matter of, what was your experience and how likely are you to return or refer someone else versus, when you think about the salesperson, it's one of the things we don't think about. What was the experience like for those 3 salespeople to be working on the same thing at the same time when only one of them should be working on it? So yeah, it probably works, but it's not up to standard. And then generally those are the organizations that you see suffer when things start to get difficult. They have higher turnover. If you're a salesperson there, is that the type of process or environment you want to work with? Because ultimately when you call, like I'm sure somebody would say, hey man, I got 2 other messages from someone else. Like who should I be talking to? And now the negotiations, the vehicle selection, the delivery is all going to be harder because they didn't make a great first impression. So it works, but it's not up to par.
Well, I will say this. Everybody that was taking pictures really felt like this was a gold standard for our industry. Here's another reason I love having these conversations with you because you compare a lot of the things to athletics and high standards and always working to be the best. I enjoy these conversations with you because I think sports translates, especially to the highest and best in this industry. You talked about daily huddles and holding people accountable, but this analogy I really get, and I really enjoy that you shared it with the people out here because I think when you have a small team, little things like holding people accountable, daily huddles, and truly developing people and practicing gets thrown by the wayside because you're I'm a small team. I'm not there yet. I don't have to do that. The reality is that's when you could see the most benefit, when you have the most net gain in your business because you don't have a big operation, but you start setting those habits early on. You talked about just like in sports, most people practice a lot more than they play. When in your career did you associate it works in sports? People practice, football players practice 6 days a week to play one game a week, right? 6 days they're practicing, one day they play. When did that start for you? Because it's obviously work and you understand the power of practice, you understand the power of management. When did that come apart? Because the people that are listening, maybe they've been in the business for 5 years and they're like, oh yeah, that's easy for him because he's been in the business for 20 years plus, whatever.
Yeah.
When did you establish that as something important?
It's a good question. I'm a bit of a slow learner. My grandfather used to say, that went in one ear and out the other. So
Is that how he sounded?
Yeah, his name was Paul, and Paul used to smoke some cool cigarettes and drink some Michelob's.
Kool.
And he opened them from the bottom, soft pack only. So anyway,
pat him down.
Yeah, packed them up. But he said, I was in the U.S. Army, and there was a gentleman there, Lance Caldwell, Corporal Caldwell. And he told me something important. So what happened? It started in 1995. It sunk in, I don't know, maybe about 5 years ago. So it was literally going in one ear and out the other for a long time. But Lance Caldwell told me, he said, hey, dog. He used to go like this all the time. He's from Alabama. And he said, big money, tell little money what to do. And what he meant was, I'm a corporal, you do whatever I tell you. What I come to find out over time is if you literally look at sports organizations or major organizations, they run businesses the right way, right? So if you think about, let's use a sports team, for example, right? So I'll look there, and we had a great keynote, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, but named by Jeff Huffman.
Yes.
And he said, so this is where all the pieces come together, right? Started back in 1995. It finally sunk in about 5 years ago. And now every day I find more confirmation that this is a good place to find inspiration for small business, is to literally go look at big business. So if you think about professional sports teams, some of the largest businesses that generate revenue of any of them, right? So when you think about a sports organization, a couple things I know to be true. There are line coaches, special team coaches, offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, head coaches. They have tons of coaches. So what could I learn about my little business that I could implement from big business? You should constantly be coaching, right? We can't have 13 different coaches, but they have like position-specific coaching. So whether it's lead management or acquisitions or dispositions or finance, everybody has a coach, right? The second is, I think baseball is the greatest example. Like you go to the ball field the day of the game, and those guys are in there taking swings, 100 swings, 2-3 hours before the game, right? And they took batting practice and soft tossed and all these thousands or hundreds of reps to get 4 at-bats in a game to maybe see 15 to 20 pitches. But the value of the at-bat, like if you were to break down, these high-paid baseball players to an at-bat, what is the value of the at-bat? It's, depending on who you're talking about, they might get paid $1 million a game, which is $250,000 per at-bat. So they practice. I think they are, if you look at an athlete, they practice 95% of their week. They only perform 5%. Look at football. They practice all week long, and they play a 2.5-hour game on Sunday. Basketball, guys like Kobe take 1,000 shots. Steph Curry gets to the game 5 hours before, right? So I think we should look at salespeople the same way we do athletes. They should be practicing 90 to 95% of the time. We should constantly be coaching them, position specific. Otherwise, we're practicing on the customer. And in our business, we spend a lot of money on leads. I don't like the idea of practicing on a lead that costs me $700-800.
I love that. I've noticed, being someone that's been in basketball coaching for a good number of years, what I've noticed over that time, when you and I, speaking of 95 and 94 and 93, when we were in high school, if you look at the amount of assistant coaches that the collegiate level has gained, the pro, those make sense, right? They're making money. But now even high school basketball and high school football, I look at
assistant coaches
here in the state of Florida, like you just said, they've got a running backs coach and they've got a wide receivers coach. That was never the case 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But if you start to look at businesses, or teams as a business, that's a great way to understand the importance of practice and the importance of understanding that if you're doing the right thing consistently, like you said, like a swing, you have a swing coach for something that you do every single day, but you could just be off this much. That can make a major difference. And in your particular case, to bring the analogy back, you're saying we're not practicing on the things that we're paying for. We're practicing in role plays and making sure that our managers are keeping people up to the highest standard on your side. So when they do get that paid lead, they're actually converting it.
And I think one of the greatest examples of that, and we're seeing this right now in the NFL, you have super successful organizations that have gone deep into the playoffs. Buffalo Bills are the latest example. They lost. What happened to their head coach?
They fired him
So
today.
when you look at, again, big money tell little money what to do, right? NFL is big money. And it really is a business. We call it a sport.
Right.
It's a business.
More so than ever.
100%.
Yeah.
And the other place you can look for this, I remember, I don't know how long ago it was, but it was Toronto, the Toronto Raptors. They had the best record in the NBA, won the East, lost in like the first or second round of the playoffs. The coach got coach of the year and got fired. So again, if big business or big money tells little money what to do, what I can extract from that is outside of talent, what those organizations and those big businesses prioritize is leadership, right? Like literally, we feel that we had enough talent, and the only reason we couldn't make it was because we didn't have the right leadership in place. So for me, it started to really make it clear how important our role as a leader is of the organization, because we are effectively, in most cases, the head coach of our business. Maybe our sales guy or our sales manager is the head coach, and it really kind of opened my eyes into the role of responsibility that we have to practice. When you think about coaches, what do? They're watching film. They're doing all kinds of stuff because their way that they contribute is through being the best coach that they can be. They're no longer on the field. So that was really helpful for me to understand my role as a leader.
Coaches go to clinics all the time. We learn from other coaches when it comes to sports. No different in business. This is, I mean, I've seen you present on this. It seems to be that you've, like every year, you add something new. This year, coming into 26, what are you most excited about? Are you adding anything new, something that you're really excited about in 2026?
Yeah, probably 2, maybe 3 things. One has been the use of AI. One of the most inexpensive lead sources we've had for over a decade has been cold calling and PPL. What I noticed, because I turned those off about 2 years ago, which made me literally sick to my stomach at the time that I did it, because the return on ad spend was still north of 3.5 to 4x. What I noticed, though, is that when I started to pay close attention to the performance of inside sales and lead management, one of the highest non-value added activity that they spent was chasing down cold call and PPL leads. They're unbranded leads. They're coming in. They're sort of very top of the funnel. They would have to make on average 15 to 16 attempts to get one of those converted to an appointment versus like 2.5 to 3 attempts on a TV lead or a radio lead or direct mail lead or PPC lead. So I stopped it. And I said, well, we're going to stop it for about 6 months and see what happens to our follow-up conversions. Well, my suspicion was correct. Our conversions on both new leads and follow-up went way through the roof, almost to the point where I did miss the revenue that we were getting from PPL and cold call. However, as AI started to unfold, I was like, hey, I love the return on ad spend that comes along with these lead sources, but I don't love the expense that comes along with how it damages my human capital. I mean, literally, our people just hated calling PPL leads because they're like, well, I don't remember filling out a form, or you guys called me. Like, why don't you just tell me what it's worth? And I just, it would erode their attitude and their perspective, which is most important for people, particularly the people on the phones. So now we run them all to AI. They don't even touch an inside in-house lead manager until the appointment's already been scheduled for AI. So now we're seeing over a 5x ROI on those lead sources, and I'm buying those leads for cold calls less than $100 a lead. PPL is generally around 200. So super excited to see how I can continue to grow that and basically pump low-cost, low-quality leads into AI, and it is relentless. I mean, it'll call 7 times a day.
It doesn't get tired?
It doesn't get tired. It doesn't get upset when someone throws 100 objections at them because they're super early in the process. And we're seeing, some good conversions there. We don't even treat them like leads anymore. We basically treat them like warm pieces of data is what we call them. Because if you treat it like a lead, that's someone that's ready, willing, and able, and cold calling PPLs like further up the funnel and a colder, opportunity. When you start trying to move to an appointment for someone that's not ready for an appointment, it's frustrating for both parties. So that's number one. Number two, one of the things we've sort of revolutionized around follow-up is I asked this question in the group, and I said, hey, if you get a new lead that comes in now, what's the next 5 days look like? And they're like, it is hell. We 5 times a day, I call them and text them. I go, good. Now, do you think people that call you today are more motivated than someone that called you today and is still in that situation 6 months from now? They're like, well, no, the longer the problem goes on, the more motivated they are. Okay, good. So when you have a follow-up task in the CRM for someone that's been in there for 6 months, tell me about that process. And they go, we call and leave a message, and then we click it, done, and we don't call them again for 4 months. I said, well, hold on for a second. A new lead that only 10% of them convert, we call 5 times a day, but a follow-up for someone that's been in the CRM for 6 months that more than likely has had their problem get worse, you call and leave a message and never call again. So we've changed that. We don't see the task in the CRM as calling. We see it as contact. So that one little tweak says, if you're in my CRM and I have a follow-up task to contact you because we spoke 3 months ago and we made an offer and you weren't quite ready, we don't move that task to complete until we've spoken with them and scheduled a next step. We've agreed on the next step, whether that's to call you in a week, a month, or to take me off your list. So now, if you look at the pipeline of manual follow-up tasks for an average lead manager, it's 100 items long every day instead of clicking it, leaving a message, but then not calling that person for potentially, depending on the cadence of the campaign, 3 to 4 months. Their problem could get really bad really fast, and because your follow-up sequence doesn't say that you should call them for 3 months, you're in no contact. They see a billboard or a television ad for your competitors, and that lead falls out of your funnel. So we now treat follow-up tasks the same way we do new lead, no follow-up. And our appointments are already up by about 15%.
That's 2. You said you had 3. What else?
The
you
third
said
one
about?
was, oh my gosh, I got to.
That was plenty, so you don't have to
so
be.
So it was AI. I don't remember the
Follow-up sequence. That's okay. That was plenty.
Yeah.
And your enthusiasm is infectious, and there's no wonder why you guys continue to dominate your market, but also are always looking at what's next. And I'm just so appreciative. It's been way too long since you've been on that stage, and I know you gave a ton of value today. Gold standards, that's our theme of the day. Eric, thank you so much for presenting today and being a part of the pod.
Thanks, man.
Much appreciated. Good to see you as always. Look, guys, these are the type of conversations we have in the car coming back from basketball before our meetings start. These are the conversations we have at lunch. I see Eric getting bombarded at lunchtime. Jimmy and Ren and all of our leadership team are a part of these meetings, select and elevate every single quarter. Every meeting that we do, Eric is in the room facilitating, bringing value. Day 2 tomorrow, he'll facilitate a smaller room. This is somebody that's always working on themselves as a leader within their business, as a family man. These are the type of people you want to surround yourself with if you're a real estate entrepreneur. And the easiest way to do that, if you want to get in this room, is go to explorecg.com. There you'll find our application. Fill out that application. You need to be in this room. You want to get in this room. You got to go through that application process. One of our 4 tiers will be available for you if you're a full-time real estate investor. Get in this room. This is the second of 3 today for our live CG podcast. We will be back with Mr. Ren Bartlett, who is presenting upstairs right now here in Sarasota at our live CG Select and Elevate event. We'll see you on the next pod.